Welcome to the Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson here with my amazing, beautiful co-host and producer of the Model Health Show, Jade Harrell. What's up, Jade?
What's up, Shawn?
How are you today?
Well, today I am joy achy.
Okay.
Joy achy.
Joy achy. Okay,
Yes.
This sounds a little painful, actually. What does this mean?
That I cannot lift my left arm. I'm aching, but it's joyous because I have upped my level in my fitness.
Oh, I see. You got
Yes.
that lactic
Yes.
acid.
Yes, it's
You got
settled
that,
in nicely.
You got that boining going on.
burning
Oh,
for
my
sure.
goodness. Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Oh,
Welcome to my
yes.
world.
Yeah, you live
This
this.
is,
on a
yeah,
regular
I
basis,
mean,
right.
there's times where we do the leg workout and then you're sore until the next leg workout, right? You're sore, you go through the whole week. Then maybe you got one good day where you can walk normally and then boom, you
Right,
got to go through it all over again.
Well, you carry
But,
it well. I look wounded.
I know, right? I've had various walks.
Yeah.
My gaits change. I've got like the old school, Huggy Bear.
Right.
I turned the limping into like a Huggy Bear walk, with the
Cool boy.
platform shoes or
Right,
whatever with the
right.
fish tank. And remember he had the fish in the shoe?
All in the shoe.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm going to get you. Shout out to I'm going to get
There
you,
you
sucker.
go, sucker.
Chris, what's the biggest thing you remember from that? Chris Rock, right?
Of course.
Can I get one rib? That was such he stole
much
the
for a
whole
rib?
movie. Right.
Well, that's why I added joy to it because it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
You got to see it as a beautiful thing,
I do.
That can deter people, when they're really working to change their physical health to get in shape. That pain, it's a sensor for many of us that we should stop, that don't go any further. There's first of all, we have to understand the distinction between pain and injury.
Right.
All right. When you got a little pain, a little soreness from that workout, that's one thing. You're not dying.
Exactly.
All right. So it's that builds up that resilience and also builds up a lot of things we're going to be talking about today. These really beneficial hormones, these anabolic hormones at testosterone level, the human growth hormone, all that stuff that makes you more resilient so that you can actually face pain, all different kinds of pain.
right.
So even mental, emotional, physical, your body is more resilient to be able to handle that through training. And I think that's one of the best ways we have access to really help us to be more adaptable to our stressors of the world today.
That's
So I
right.
just wanted to put that out
That's
there.
why I welcome it.
Shout out, or actually chuck the deuces to winter blues, all right? All right, so guys, seriously, especially during this time of year, we got to make sure that our immune systems are up to par and support our health overall. We need to do this all the time, but this is a time to really take action, especially if you haven't done so thus far. Every single human being needs to be on a green superfood blend,
Yes.
a green superfood supplement by far. This is where we're going to get the bioavailable vitamins, minerals, amino acids, phytonutrients, enzymes, these things that your body needs to literally build you. It cannot do the job without these core pieces. And so getting your vitamins and minerals from a, quote, multivitamin, quote, you see the air quotes like laser, right? From getting it from a multivitamin, let me tell you, number one, the vast majority of those products, they're synthetic. So these are not actual food-based nutrients that your body has evolved having access to. It. Your body can't recognize those things in the same way. These things are different. It's not that there's B12 in this. There's different forms of B12. There's at least 4 different forms of B12. Are you getting the one your body can actually use? So you're running on all cylinders. If you're not, then we have a serious problem here. And so what do? We need to get a green superfood blend. The one that I use, the one that I give my family, especially right now, my sons, because with the kids in school, they're carriers.
Yes,
All right, my son
they
goes to his
are.
little Montessori, this little school. Those kids, they're carriers,
They're very
man.
hands-on.
They're smugglers. They're smuggling those little viruses and stuff,
Right.
making sure, and he hardly ever gets sick. And it's a big part of that reason I know for certain is he's getting access to these things. So what we use is Organifi. So head over there, check them out, this green superfood blend. It tastes amazing. One of the things that's in it, chlorella. Let's talk a little bit about chlorella. It has the highest chlorophyll levels of any plant in the world. 3 to 5% of it is chlorophyll. That's where it gets the name chlorella. It's an incredible blood builder. And more importantly, it's an effective detoxifier to the degree research, and there's a huge mass of research coming together now about chlorella, but research after nuclear disasters showed that it helps eliminate uranium, cadmium, and lead, okay, and even radioactive materials. and I probably shouldn't share this. I probably shouldn't share what I'm about to say, but there's a Japanese study that showed taking a high dose of 4 to 6 grams of chlorella before drinking alcohol reduced hangovers by 96%. He had a little sparkle come off the teeth and smile. But what does it say? This helps your body to detoxify.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing. It's not trying to use this as a hack, which you could, but Organifi has a nice blend of all these things. So the chlorella, it has a spirulina, which is the highest source of protein by weight of any food on the planet, over 71% protein by weight. Organic wheatgrass, which is chock full of vitamins and minerals. It contains 17 amino acids, but it tastes great.
It really does.
This is what's different. The coconut water, the mint, it makes it actually taste wonderful. So head over, check them out. It's Organifi.com/model. So that's ORGANIFI.com/MODEL. And you're going to get 20% off of your order every time you use the checkout code MODEL.
That's great.
All right, so Organifi.com/model for 20% off every time you use that code model.
I'm so glad because my 10-year-old asks for it every single day.
Oh, I love to hear that. That's what I'm talking about.
Says, oh, this green juice is so good.
It's so
he
good.
Says he does. He goes in.
It's so good, Ma. So, yeah, and I also, of course, not only that, but it's great even just sliding it in, throwing it into smoothies, things like that. So I do that for my kids all the time.
Which means we'll need plenty.
All the time, yeah. So definitely they got the container and then they've got the travel packs as well. I love those travel packs. Always take those with me when I travel. So head over, check them out, Organifi.com/model. Use the code MODEL.
Yeah.
Also, I want to tell you guys about, the thing is, it was seasonal. So I don't even want to necessarily bring this up. It might not be available right now, but the pumpkin spice MCT oil from On It. Guys, I've been going ham. I mean, ham on that pumpkin spice MCT oil. I've been making people like pumpkin spice lattes, so also just adding it with my favorite teas, my chaga, my reishi, my cordyceps, pumpkin spice MCT oil. This is literal cell food, all right? MCT oils, medium chain triglycerides. So this bypasses normal digestion, as we've talked about many times, because when you eat food, so just say you have a bowl of cereal. You want to get real classy and eat a bowl of cereal. You see this? I'm doing that. This is that motion that they do after they score a touchdown now. You see the people doing the food thing, right? It's some kind of a dance move or something.
Right.
Eating a bowl of cereal. And then that cereal has to get converted into what your cells can actually use. So to become this ATP is a conversion process. MCT oil is different in that it bypasses that digestion. It goes directly to your liver and it's immediately available for energy for your cells.
Ka-ching.
That's how amazing this is and the resonance that it has with the human body. Great for your brain, your nervous system, also for your appetite. It's one of those things that helps to regulate your appetite and it tastes amazing. So On has done something special, something very special. It's emulsified flavored. So it's emulsified so you don't have to blend it. All right, you can literally just mix it in with a spoon, kind of like a creamer, right? So it was because that was a difficulty when I travel. Like, how am I gonna do this, bro? Like the MCT oil just has to stay at home. Now you can actually just mix it in. So head over, check them out. They've also, if the pumpkin spice is gone, they've got the strawberry, which is my fave. But I mean, still gonna be my fave. I was going ham because it was the holiday time, and I didn't know how long I was gonna be around. So I actually ordered a few extra bottles. Strawberry, vanilla. Which that's my wife's favorite, and they also have coconut. So
which is
check
my favorite.
Them out. Also, the Shroom Tech Sport supplement. Let me tell you really quickly. A study published in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise tested 30 healthy athletes for 6 weeks to record the effects of cordyceps on their performance. The group that added cordyceps to their daily regimen had twice the oxygen intake of the control group. This oxygen is essential in supplying nutrients to the muscles, preventing fatigue, and preventing the buildup of lactic acid, which was what makes your muscles say, stop, no more, no, you're hurting me, stop, let go. And so that's what it does. Another study done by the same group also showed a 9% increase in aerobic capacity from taking cordyceps. So it literally improves your endurance. It helps your body to assimilate nutrients. Shroom Tech Sport from On It. All right, cordyceps, B12, rhodiola. Check that out. Go to onnit.com/model. That's ONNIT.com/MODEL. You're going to get 10% off all of your health and human performance supplements, everything there. Check them out now. Now let's get to the iTunes review of the week.
This is a good one. This is from Rig Shady, 5 stars. I am an obstacle course racer. The information from your podcast have helped me compete at the highest level at Spartan races. I'm a wellness advocate for UPS as well, and I've shared your great technical tips with my fellow drivers. They are super stoked and are delivering at record speed. Even FedEx is wondering what we're taking. I tell them Shawn, the model, is our coach. Thanks for a great life. Thanks for all the great life changers. I'm 41, looking like I'm 20. Jade helps keep you light and funny. Thanks, guys. My question, though, should I drink water with my meal? Some experts say no. Thank you, Corey Rig Shady Rigatello.
Oh, man. Hashtag competitive advantage.
I love it.
All right, I love that. No wonder, like, where did they go? The package is there. They're gone.
They're gone.
No trace.
I thought somebody rang the bell.
I love it, man.
Right?
That's so great. Thank you. Man, a lot of love for that. Thank you so much for leaving that review. And just to answer the question, you strategically slid in there like a ninja.
That's right.
Water with meals, generally that's not recommended. And this is, I'm not just saying that because it sounds nice. If you look at biology, if you look at what's going on, the biochemistry of the human organism, your gut, there's two things going on there. Basically, you've got the acidity, you've got that acid, stomach acid, and water's going to be coming in there. Water's naturally going to suppress and drown out kind of, especially if you're drinking a lot of water. A couple sippy sips, all right. But we don't want to depress that digestive fire, right, by having too much water in the mix.
Okay.
If you do want to eat maybe some more water-rich foods along with your meal, because it's going to have a little bit more of the kind of bioconstituents, the cofactors that go along with it, right? She's like, I want to be a bioconstituent.
That's right. Sign me up.
There's like special sweaters for that? Do you get like a Letterman jacket?
I'm with bio.
So that can just, and of course the enzymes that are going to be coming along with those foods, food enzymes to help you to digest. But water is just, it's a solvent. It's that ultimate neutralizer, So I would recommend having your water around your meals, not with your meal, except a little bit, a couple sips, maybe a couple ounces. Generally, I'd say 30 minutes before your meal and then an hour after your meal.
Nice.
All right. And so when we can geek out, talk about that for a whole show, but you snuck that in there.
Yeah,
man.
Rig Shady.
So thank you so much for leaving that review. I truly appreciate it. Now let's get to our special guest.
All of the
reviews. Keep them coming, please, guys. You see how this makes my day. Thank you so much for the reviews.
We love engaging with you every chance we get, and this is one of the ways that we do so.
Yes, indeed. Head over to iTunes and leave that review if you haven't done so already. Thank you. Now let's get to our special guest. Very, very special guest. Absolute pioneer. This man is a superhero. And today's guest is John Gray, and he is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed this book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. Wow. And in hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 90s. All right. Do you remember the 90s?
Decade.
Do you remember those shorts?
They were good.
Remember that neon?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
And my acid wash.
So, Dr. Gray's books are translated into over 45 languages in more than 100 countries and continues to be a bestseller. Dr. Gray has written over 20 books. Wow. His Mars-Venus book series has forever changed the way that men and women view their relationships. And John has helped men and women better understand and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. His approach combines specific communication techniques with healthy, nutritional choices that create the brain and body chemistry for lasting health, happiness, and romance. He's really speaking my language. His many books, blogs, and free online workshops over at marsvenus.com, make sure to head over there, provide practical insights to improve relationships at all stages of life and love. Yeah. He's an advocate of health and optimal brain function as well. He also provides natural solutions for overcoming depression, anxiety, and stress to support increasing energy, libido, hormonal balance, and better sleep. Period. He has appeared repeatedly on Oprah as well as the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, and many others. He's been profiled in Time Magazine, Forbes, USA Today, and People. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters.
Love it.
All right. This is like him and like Michael Jackson. Right? It's just amazing. So John Gray lives in Northern California with his wife, Bonnie. They have been happily married for 31 years and have 3 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren. And I'd like to welcome to the Model Health Show, Dr. John Gray. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing really good. So nice to talk to you.
I am so excited and honored to have you on the show. You know, something that I've been really thinking about a lot lately is how certain ideas permeate and change culture. And you being the man, literally the person who created this understanding, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, this thing that's said throughout our culture, to have you here is a great honor. And I'd love to get started and talk about your early years. You know, I'm really curious, like, did you kind of grow up knowing about healthy relationships, or what sparked this interest in this field early on for you?
Well, I wasn't that interested in relationships. I mean, I was just like anybody else. But when the Beatles came out, they went to India to study with the guru, Maharishi.
Yep.
And they were saying, you know, you can get high without taking drugs. So I thought, okay, that sounds really good. And so I went off hoping to see the Beatles. They left right when I got there and studied yoga and studied meditation and was very dedicated for 9 years. I lived with him and was his personal assistant and became a celibate monk. Now, I'd been sexually active as a teenager. I love sex, still love sex. But for that period of time, I just devoted myself to finding inner happiness. And so when I came back out into the world, my brother was bipolar, and so meditation didn't help that. So I went and studied psychology, got my PhD in psychology, and discovered that I have a really good talent for counseling. But I think my perspective was unique because I'd been single, found happiness within. So I wasn't looking to my partner when I got married to be the source of my happiness. You know, and I want men to know this, is that you know, we get seduced by the idea that our happiness comes from her happiness. And yes, it does. When my wife is happy, everybody's happy. And that's the reality. But our job as men, for thousands of years, it's still the same job, but a little different, is to make women feel safe, not to make women happy. Women have the ability to be happy or not happy. They're like waves. They're like the weather. You can't control it. And when the weather's bad, you don't blame yourself. Well, when a wife's not happy, don't blame yourself, but focus on what you can do to make a safe place for her to be herself. And that was a dynamic that came from my background that allowed me to then develop this sort of non-judgmental perspective of helping men and women understand each other, because we are constantly misinterpreting each other and then judging each other as something's wrong with you.
Wow, that's such a great story too. And I love how it started with the Beatles. You know, this is such a powerful story.
The Beatles.
So fundamentally, there are some pretty major differences in how men and women think and how they function in relationships. And you've really been able to highlight that. So where do these differences actually originate? You know, is it a difference with our brains? Is it a difference with hormones, or is it both?
Well, you know, when I started out, all I could do was simply observe the differences, and people nodded their head and said, yeah, that's my wife. Yeah, that's my husband. But then as the science has progressed over the last 35 years since I've been teaching these ideas, the book came out over 25 years ago, but I was teaching it 10 years before, and people were getting great benefits out of it. That's where the popularity came. It's a real hands-on workable idea. But the science today has shown us conclusively there are brain differences between men and women that are very fun and significant to look at. And my most recent work is really focusing on something that's indisputable, which is how our hormones are different. You know, in short, men's testosterone levels need to be 10 to 30 times higher than a woman's for her to be attracted to him, or for him to feel attracted to her. You basically have to have these differences like North Pole, South Pole coming together on magnets. That magnetic attraction is differences attract. And women need to have 10 times more estrogen or more, 20 times more. And suddenly they feel very attracted to a man who has testosterone, and to a man who has lower estrogen. So there's this hormonal distinction that creates attraction. But even more powerful, whenever a woman is happy and fulfilled, there's a specific hormonal balance in her body that's almost the opposite of a man's. Her estrogen levels have to be higher. Her testosterone has to be very low. For a man, his happiness and fulfillment and energy and motivation and positive mood comes when his testosterone is higher and his estrogen is much, much lower. So behaviors, you know, if I'm in a race car, my testosterone is going to go up.
Yeah.
If I'm gardening, my estrogen's going to go up. So there's certain behaviors that stimulate these hormones that create balance. Now let's apply it to relationships. There's certain communication skills that will stimulate testosterone in men and communication skills that will stimulate estrogen in women.
Wow. And all of these things, I remember Amy Cuddy and her TED Talk and talking about even how we stand, our postures, the way that we move changes those hormonal ratios. And actually, John, in a recent show, I talked about, so many different studies, but one of them showed conclusively that your testosterone level is directly linked to your amount of sleep, more so than any other hormone, because we got this like a hormonal rhythm for things like HGH throughout the day. For cortisol, we've got a cortisol rhythm. Testosterone is sleep dependent. So if you're sleep deprived, and then in the show we talked about how this is linked to erectile dysfunction, low libido, all this stuff. For men and for women, the desire goes down as well. And it's a big part of that is that the sexual desire is going down because the men's testosterone is low as well. And this is just like blowing my mind already.
Right, how connected that is.
And I'm totally right with you. Sleep is such a big, big deal. And there's also another aspect of that testosterone. Sleep is deep, deep relaxation. There's another aspect of one of the popular ideas in Men Are From Mars is that men go to their cave. Okay, so quite often a guy will, he's dating a woman. He's always happy to see her, but then they move in together and he comes home and he just wants to watch the news. And she says, what just happened? And it's because when a guy's single, he's going to have his cave at his apartment or his house or whatever. And then when he gets to see her, his energy's up to see her. But men have to have this downtime in order to rebuild testosterone. So when a guy is watching the news or he's exercising and then resting after exercise, it's in that relaxation of muscles where a guy is also feeling good about himself. So there's this psychological aspect where you have to feel like, I feel good about myself. Like if you have a great day and you come home and you drink, even fixing the fence or doing the lawn or whatever it is, using your muscles, and then you come and you sit and you drink a beer, what's happening, what people don't realize, is that you're able to rebuild your testosterone levels as long as you're not in an estrogen-producing activity like interacting with your partner. And women don't understand this because estrogen-stimulating activity is what makes them thrive. Let's talk, let's share, let's get close. He wants to do that, but first he has to rebuild his testosterone levels. And it's that cave time, that relaxation time, that allows him to do it. But you're talking about sleep, which is so important for all the hormones basically go into balance. If you don't, like you mentioned, at 12 o'clock at night, which is very interesting, there's a circadian rhythm. That's when your cortisol levels drop to the deepest level. Yeah. And it's at that time, if you're asleep then, you'll go into deep sleep, and that's where your body will restore balance to all these hormones. And when your hormones are out of balance, it's often very hard for you to have that drop in cortisol at that time. And for men, this is why the cave time is so important for men. It's you have to have enough testosterone in your body if you're a man in order to lower cortisol. Yes. Testosterone lowers a man's stress. And for women, estrogen, progesterone, oxytocin are the hormones that will lower the cortisol level for a woman so she can then go into deep sleep. So here's an interesting thing. If you don't have love and good relationships in your life, you're too stressed to sleep, and you can't sleep, you can't rebuild your hormones so that you can have better loving relationships.
Yeah, vicious cycle there. Now, you're not just saying this because you come from the guy's perspective and your man cave looks pretty awesome there.
It is great. It's very, very awesome.
In fact, it looks so welcoming, we might almost want to go in there. But we realize that the quality of our relationships is incredibly important to our well-being. So from your personal experience, what would you say is the reason why the quality of our relationships can have such an influence on our health and even our success?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Okay, so when you look at our relationships, we're in relationship all the time. I'm in relationship with my wife. I'm in relationship with you. I'm in relationship with my computer. I'm in my kids, my coworkers, with the world, with the planet. These are all relationships, and they stimulate in us hormones. And I'm putting in the context of hormones because hormones are directly linked to your mood, to your energy, to your health, to your digestion, to your brain function. Everything is related to these little messengers in the body called hormones. And if your hormones are out of balance, let's say a man has low testosterone, what will happen is his cortisol, that's a stress hormone, will go really high. When that cortisol is high, it inhibits digestion. Now let's just look at that one thing right there, is that the cortisol says it gives you extra energy. It says you can run away faster from a bear that's chasing you, or you can attack and you'll have more energy. You'll have more focus. You'll basically have faster reaction time. Testosterone surges up when you're under stress, particularly if you're a man. Now, for a woman, that's not her first reaction. Her first reaction is estrogen increases. Suddenly she wants to bake you cookies. Let me do something nice. Like a big guy comes into the room, everybody smiles at him. Let's make peace. Let's not think war. But testosterone's a reaction that says, get out of here or attack. So these are just basic hormonal reactions. So if your body is producing cortisol, it stops making hydrochloric acid, which would digest your food, because that energy has to go to your muscles. So in a sense, your body's saying, hey, I'm about to be digested, so don't worry about digesting lunch. So when you can't digest your proteins, you can't make the precursors to dopamine, which gives you focus, memory, interest, motivation. And if you can't digest your proteins, you can't make enough serotonin, which says everything's going to be okay, everything's all right, I have support in my life. Where is that support? And if you can't digest your proteins, one of the most dominant proteins is something called glutamine. It will turn into GABA. And GABA is what allows you to love the Beatles. It allows you to love music. It allows you to love romance. It allows you to be in love. All those positive feelings, you wake up and you say, blue skies, white clouds, it's just a beautiful day, and you cherish that. That's GABA. So a lot of our happiness comes when these brain chemicals are being produced. Now, if you're stressed, your body's ability to digest your proteins is diminished, and therefore you can't make all those extra brain chemicals. That's just one of the things that it does towards our health. And if you look at any of these problems that young boys are experiencing, and older boys now, grown-ups, is ADHD type problems, hyperactivity, addiction, depression, obsessive thinking, worrying over and over. These are all directly related to digestion. And digestion is directly related to elevated stress levels in your body. That's one aspect of your health.
Yeah.
The next, I won't go into all of them, but the other key one is something called the immune system. If you have cancer or autoimmune diseases, diabetes, when you have cancer, we'll just look at that one, which is this huge killer in the world today. People are afraid of cancer. We know what causes cancer from one perspective, which is a compromised immune system. Our immune system, which again, you need good sleep to activate your immune system. That's when it does all of its work, is primarily when you're asleep. And when your immune system is working, it keeps down these little infections. They're bacteria infections that are getting out of control. It will go in and get rid of them. But if you get a speeding ticket, for example, that's a big fight or flight thing. Somebody walks into your life, I mean, just, to be stopped and be told what you have to do by some stranger. It's a huge invasion into your being, a major cause of stress. And your cortisol levels will shoot up. At that time, your immune system will shut off, and it won't turn back on for 7 days. So this is what generally will happen. Most people don't notice this, but they'll get stopped by a policeman. A week later, they'll have a cold or they'll have a flu, and they'll be sick. And they don't know, why did I get sick? I don't know why I got sick. I picked up some germ. Well, yeah, you pick up a germ, but germs are everywhere all the time. It's what happened is when your immune system goes to sleep for a week, it stops making white blood cells. Now, white blood cells attack these infections in the body that are constantly there and have to be kept down. That's the immune system's working. So when the immune system goes to sleep for a week, Then when it wakes up, it says, oh, look at all these infections. We have to get rid of them. And it kills the little bugs and then has to come out through your snot and your coughing and your sickness, and your fever also helps to activate the immune system to attack these infections that are going on in the body. And if you have prolonged stress, then your immune system is sleeping for a long time. Those infections that would normally be healed through a cold or a flu, they turn into cancer down the line.
That's so powerful.
Yeah,
you know, to make this connection and how our experiences, how we're relating to the world via our intimate relationships, or even a relationship with, for example, getting pulled over, how it can impact our health so significantly. It's really just a big aha moment. And so one of the things, well, really quickly, I got another question, but one of the things I also want to mention, so you talked about dopamine, you talked about the immune system, also serotonin in our gut as well. 95% or more of our serotonin, which is this kind of feel-good neurotransmitter, is located in our bellies. So the sandwich that you eat does, in fact, have an impact on your neurotransmitters and also your hormones as well. So what we're putting in there matters a lot. And also, you know, how we're relating to the world, as you mentioned. But so what are some of the things we can do to be more resilient? You know, because instead of us crashing, because things are going to happen. We're going to have kind of intense communications. We're going to have things come up. People are going to get into trouble, you know. What can we do to be more resilient? Is exercise a key to build up our resiliency, our diet, our relationships? Let us know.
Okay, well, exercise is certainly an important aspect. Our diet is hugely important. But since you've got me here,
Yes.
I mean, I could talk on those subjects, but few people can do the relationship part of it.
Yes.
And I would say that, you know, relationship, if not, is more important than all of those things.
Yeah.
If you don't have good relationships, you're not going to get up and go somewhere, and you're not going to eat with people. Because eating alone, again, anything you do alone, separate, has benefit if it's part of the time. But if it's all of the time, you could have a cancer cure if there was a pill and you gave it to somebody and it worked for everybody. But if somebody sat in a room with no light and had no friendships, it wouldn't work. Is that the engine behind everything as human beings is socializing. It's the quality of our friendships. It's the quality of our love. And this has been proven with several books where they went to the areas of the planet where people live healthy at 100. And what they find is that these people have different diets. They tend to have organic foods and clean water. That is something that's universal. In most cases, they tend to walk a lot. Walking is very important to stimulate what's called to stimulate the lymphatic system to detoxify the body. Your body has to go up and down. I have a little exercise I'll just mention briefly, but it's if you're not going to be walking every day, then you need to sort of just stand and bounce a little bit like this, kind of like you're jumping rope without your feet off the ground for just 5 minutes. And that will simulate 2 hours of walking in terms of cleansing the body. The system is 4 times bigger than the circulation system, the lymphatic system. And science has only recently discovered it, really, and the importance of it, but it's what cleans out the body. And so we have to keep cleaning out the internal body through the lymphatic system so the cells can absorb oxygen. And throughout millions of years, every animal, every human, every monkey, everything has all walked for hours every day to get food. And now we don't have to do that. And so we don't have this up and down movement. So that's like on a physical level, very important. But more important is that you're walking, you're moving your body, but then you're socializing.
Yeah.
Singing together is a really great thing to stimulate all of your hormones. But talking together and conversation together. You know, a lot of times couples, I've been married now 31 years, and you don't have a lot to say to your partner every night. You know, you can talk about your day or whatever, but you don't have your whole life to tell. You've told your story several times. So it's important to bring people over and socialize. You know, it's funny. I've told stories about my life a lot of times. My wife knows them all. But if there's friends there at the table, she'll say, tell them that story, you know, as opposed to if it's just us, she would never want me to repeat a story. But she'll say, tell them that, John, tell them that, you know, and she wants me to say these things. So and I will do the same with her. So there's a refreshment that happens to relationships, through many relationships, through friendship, through community, through gatherings. You know, I remember back in the day, you know, to a certain extent, even today, we went on a vacation to Rome. And you'll see that people there, they're walking in the streets all over the place, and they're looking at people and they're checking out what's she wearing, what she's not. You know, this social experience we've lost as we sit in front of a TV set. And not that I watch TV. I like TV. It's nice cave time activity. But it needs to be balanced with socializing. Yeah. Now, you know, there's something we were talking about, and I just have to mention it because we're talking about for men how important testosterone is. And people have the wrong idea about testosterone. And science led us in the wrong direction. And they taught us that testosterone caused aggression. And, you know, people are aggressive and commit crimes or go to jail and they're mean or they don't think of other people. We go, oh, you know, it's testosterone that did it. It's not. Now, that's science has disproven itself. It's proven that testosterone promotes good behavior in men. And that what happens is that when you have a fight or flight reaction, your testosterone levels will start to increase. But if you then lose confidence, meaning you don't know what to do, so that's like you're driving your car, it's dangerous. You're going faster, your mind is getting calm, it's getting focused. And then at a certain point, your stress levels will start to increase and you'll experience fear. What's happening at that moment, you can just drive your car and experience this hormonal change in your body, is as soon as you're starting to experience fear, what's occurring in your body biologically is that your belly, if you're a man, is now producing an enzyme called aromatase. And that enzyme aromatase is turning your testosterone into estrogen. So men only become afraid, defensive, or angry, or mean when their testosterone is turning into the female hormone, estrogen, which is now flooding his brain with emotions. And this is what we have to understand as men. If we want to be men and we want to be balanced and we want to be healthy and we want to be loving and we want to be smart, all those things occur when your testosterone is steady as opposed to turning into estrogen. And the key in my message now is the recognition that whenever I'm getting angry as a man, if I express it out loud to the person I'm upset with, as soon as I speak, my estrogen levels double. And what I need to do at that time is to come back to rebuilding my testosterone, which will lower my cortisol, the stress hormone. Because when cortisol goes up, if you're a man or woman, besides the health issues, what happens is blood flow stops from the front part of the brain, which is where we have executive function, which is where we have communication skills, where we can hear another point of view, where we can change our own perspective, where we're capable of adapting ourselves. When blood flow stops to the front part of the brain, it goes to the back part of the brain, which is instinctive fight or flight, conditioned responses. That's when you find yourself reacting the way your father did or your mother did, and you kind of go, I never want to be like that. But you find yourself doing it. You find yourself behaving like an 8-year-old. You know, well, you did this, well, I did that, but no, you said that, but you didn't do that. But remember when you did that, and when you did that, why you never helped me at all. And we escalate, and we lose control, because control happens here. And you lose control as soon as your testosterone is turning into estrogen, as soon as that fight or flight response goes into an automatic reaction rather than a thoughtful reaction.
That's
wow.
powerful.
This is going to be speaking to a lot of people and how we operate unconsciously a lot of times. And we go and kind of spiral into this tornado of problems whirling around in chaos, you know, and being able to get on top of these things is paramount. And, you know, you're the best, John. You're literally the best. There's so many things you're tying in from episodes. We've done entire shows dedicated to the lymphatic system, entire shows dedicated to, you know, talking about aromatization, this process, and for you to tie this all together and how it impacts our relationships and our bodies overall, just in the context of a day. This is so powerful.
Yeah,
and so I want to kind of dive in more and talk about this change in our closest relationships, in our intimate relationship. You know, when a lot of people start off in their relationship, it's very loving, it's very passionate, and then something happens, right? Something changes. So let's talk a little bit about that. What happens? How do so many of us go from this loving, passionate beginning, and then things change at some point?
Okay, well, there's two things that can happen. Let me talk about one first, and that is for everybody, when you fall in love, what's occurring is newness, right? It's a new person. It's a new body. It's a new interaction. You're hearing new stories. And it's also a new challenge. Newness and challenge are two of the and danger as well, because you could be rejected, vulnerability. Newness, challenge, danger, and reward. You're anticipating reward, someone to love you and accept you the way you are and not complain about you. I mean, you think, wow, this is amazing. Those ingredients, all of them together or separate, stimulate the brain chemical dopamine. And it's literally like eating ice cream. Ice cream, everybody loves ice cream, right? Well, ice cream stimulates dopamine, sugar and fat together, and boom, your brain just makes a lot of dopamine. But to put it in the right context, another thing that produces huge amounts of dopamine is methamphetamines, is cocaine, is heroin. And heroin I like to talk about because heroin, it comes from the German root word hero. It literally makes you feel like you're a hero, but you're not a hero. See, it's when you're feeling down, you take a drug to make you feel like a hero rather than going out and doing something nice for someone. And so what happens is when you have this high stimulation of dopamine, then you get addicted. It's like suddenly a drug comes in. And when you get high dopamine stimulation, it changes the brain, and the brain cells, the neurons, become desensitized. That means that now they depend on high stimulation to feel excitement, and normal stimulation doesn't give you excitement at all. So let me give you an example of that. It'd be like you go to a rock concert and you're going wild and everybody's excited. It's a dramatic day. And then the next day you're going to feel flat. And that's because these receptor sites that open up and they say, drink the dopamine, then too much dopamine goes in, they close down and you lose them. You know, if you take heroin, for example, you'll lose 30% of your ability to appreciate normal life. That's why many people will do heroin just to feel normal. It doesn't even make them high. But if they're without the heroin, their brain's ability to experience pleasure and aliveness decreases. So basically what happens, let's look at the flip side of this. If you stop eating for one day and just drink water and lemon, which I recommend for everybody to help rebuild their hormones, occasionally to do a fast. If you go without food for a day, those receptor sites, they come back. And no matter what you eat, it tastes like the best meal in the universe. Right. Food tastes fantastic. That first meal, you go, oh, food, it's so good.
Broccoli, where have you been?
Yeah, where have you been? I love you. Which is, by the way, why often when we'll take a married man, for example, who's been in an unhappy marriage for a long time, he gets a divorce and he starts to date. That's called the rebound. Whoever he dates is going to feel like a princess. Oh my God, you're the best. And women have to be wary of that because men can go like wild. And then once you're starting to get the stimulation, the receptor sites come back. So the question you asked, it was a long answer, but it's about brain science.
It's so good.
The newness stimulates this big surge of excitement. There's always going to be a reaction where there's a come down, just like with a drug. And if you get really high on something, and you go off of it, what happens is you cling to, I need the high. I need that feeling of newness, excitement. But you can't ever get that again in the same way. You can experience great passion and great love and lasting love, but there is going to be a drop. And when that drop happens, it will come back into balance. But when the drop is there, the mistake people make is they go, why aren't you making me happy? You're not doing what you used to do. It's like suddenly, a guy, all he had to do was give her a call and she was happy. Now they're married and she's like, kind of like, you forgot to call me. You didn't empty the trash. You left your socks on the floor. The lights are always on. And he's like, what happened to the woman who I can do no wrong with? Well, when she was on a dopamine high, she didn't notice the lights were left out. She didn't notice that the socks were on the floor. She didn't care about those things because she was high. But when she comes down, she starts to look to him as the source of her happiness because that pill, in a sense, made you happy. And your brain's going, I want that experience. Well, we have to realize that we are the source of our happiness, and people don't recognize that. They keep looking too far outside.
I love that. What a great point just to end that with. It's so valuable Because so many times, and this is just, I think it's indoctrinated in our culture, with movies and things like that, this romance, this idea that someone else, like, you complete me, right? You complete me. When I find this person, then I can be happy. But the reality is nobody's like sprinkling magical love fairy dust on you that's changing your physiology. This is something you do within yourself and how you're responding to the world and what your perception of reality is. And I love how you said, eventually things come back to balance. But from my experience, I've seen that balance, that feeling of happiness and joy gradually can elevate, to where your baseline is a greater place. And I see you nodding your head. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm married 31 years, and I love my wife more because she said it perfectly. She said, at one time I said, it's just amazing how much we love each other. I love you as much as I did in the beginning. And she said to me, she goes, oh, John, I love you more than in the beginning. And I said, well, and I feel more love than in the beginning. I said, well, why? And she said, in the beginning, we didn't really know each other. We loved each other, but we didn't know each other. Now you've seen the best of me and you've seen the worst of me, and you still adore me. That's love. That's the real thing. And that's what we're all looking for, whether we know it or not, is that here I am, the good and the bad, the great and the not so great, the adequate and the inadequate, the perfect and the not perfect. Yes. And to have somebody who can be in present time and still love you, that's real love, as opposed to, the fantasy love, which is nothing wrong with the fantasy love. It's just, it's always going to be fleeting. Yeah. And so in my experience of 31 years, there's always a wave of this. We can't experience being on the high all the time with our partner. It looks a little bit like this. I call it the 80-20 principle. Is it, I borrowed that idea from time management. They say in business that people often spend 80% of their time doing the least productive things and only 20% of their time doing that which is productive. And that's generally true. Well, what I see in relationships is that we need to look to our intimate relationship. That's like dessert. And look to our intimate relationship for 20% of our fulfillment. 80% of our fulfillment has to come from things within ourselves, our work, our friendships, our routines. Maybe we pray, we meditate, our spiritual life. We've got a vast source of support in our life. Then we come together to share that we look only to our happiness for 20% in our relationship. And really what it turns out to be is that nobody makes me happier than my wife. But also what goes along with that is nobody can make me upset more than my wife.
Right.
Because that's part of being vulnerable.
Right.
It's part of being influenced by, she has an impact on me greater than anybody else. If somebody else complains about me, I don't care. My wife complains about me, well, I care more. It's like with your children, you're going to care more about your children than other people. That's what intimate relationships are. And as a result, what I have had to learn to do is learn how to manage the stress in the marriage, because I can't expect her to always be in this positive state. She's not there. But when I create a safety for her to move up and down in that place without making her wrong, she will always come back to loving me more. Yep. One of the things my wife said to me after 25 years of marriage, I said, well, how am I as a husband? How do you rate me? And she said, well, you're like the best dad our children could ever imagine. As a husband, you're clearly not perfect, but you've given me the best gift any woman could ever want. And of course, I'm like, okay, I'll take that as an A+. And I said, what's that? And she said, I know that no matter what I say or do, I can upset you. I can upset you and you get upset. But whenever you get upset, you stop talking and you go away. And you always come back with more love. I know no matter what I do, I can't push you away. And I know you're never going to leave me. That's the greatest gift a woman could ever receive.
Absolutely. It makes us feel secure. It makes us feel covered.
Everything about women is they want to feel safe. If men could just get this, our job isn't to make her happy. Our job isn't to be this great guy all the time. Our job is to be this safe guy all the time. And the biggest obstacle to her feeling safe, I'll say it real clearly, is when guys go and get angry. Is when we get angry. Now, you're going to be angry at times. You have to learn to manage your anger. And remember, guys, when you're angry, if you talk, It only increases your estrogen. You have to learn to quiet the mind. That's why, for me, learning meditation was so helpful. When I get angry, I would just go away and reflect on what was bothering me. But now I also understand hormones better. Quieting the mind will rebuild testosterone. Also, using your physical body will rebuild testosterone. Also, driving your car will, a lot of things will rebuild your testosterone. Using your muscles, solving problems, fixing things that don't have to do with personal relationships. So what you do is you do the opposite of what people are often telling us to do, is stop talking, don't talk more. And this is so important for women, because when a man gets angry, women don't understand men. Because for a woman, if she's angry and she can express herself and nobody's going to stop her, she'll actually feel better afterwards. It will be like a storm and it passed and she'll forget it. But if you resist her anger, she'll always remember it. And if you resist her anger and get angry back, then she gets suppressed. She has to hold back who she is. Now, women have to realize this, that your anger can trigger his anger. And so you can't just keep talking. And the thing that women often do is they ask questions like, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? You don't love me. How could you do that? And then that gets him to talk. You don't want him to talk. You want to take a time out. And I'm the man. I protect my wife from the dragon inside of me. So I do my very best to listen to my wife, because she needs to feel heard. And we can talk about some techniques for that. But the bottom line is that when women feel heard and they express their feelings, their estrogen levels go up and their stress levels go down. So it's the opposite for women. They need to speak it out. Men need to stay calm. But at a certain point, a man will start to get upset, and you have to have an exit word. Now, in my marriage, it's just saving grace. As soon as I notice I'm getting defensive, I say to my wife, I hear you. And that means conversation is over. That means I'm going to go off and do something to rebuild my testosterone. I'm going to say to myself, forget what just happened. Forget it. Don't think about it. Go do something else. And then once I've done something else, my testosterone will come up where I feel confident and successful. That will lower my stress. Then I think about what just happened. And if I did something wrong, I'll go say, I'm so sorry. And that's it. No big conversation. Or I'll just come back and be more loving. Because you can't ram something down somebody's throat. And the truth is, women just need to feel they can express themselves. That helps them to restore their balance. And women today are way out of balance because 9 to 5 in a job, or even longer than that, you can't express how you feel at your work for most women. You got to put the lid on it, put the lid on it, put the lid on it. And the emotions that build up come home and they get thrown on their partner. It's like a hot potato. It's like she's holding it and she wants to throw it off, and it just goes on to him as opposed to her whole day. There's all these feelings that are building up and building up. And she needs sort of a way to vent that and be heard. And that will help balance her hormones. That's where communication is so important for women to learn to be more vulnerable and share more in a way that doesn't cause a man to feel like it's all his fault.
There's grace. Grace is going to be involved in this. And, this is, you're like right at this moment, guys, if you're really absorbing this is life-changing. And I always strive personally and also to communicate this. We want to learn from people who've been there before, people who've paved the way for us. And John has an immense amount of experience with other couples, but also within the context of his own relationship. And you want to study that. You want to learn from those successful relationships because it's not in the norm today. Things are a little bit different today. And this is getting back to what's real and natural and what actually works. And I want to talk more about this communication and the listening part that you brought up, because one of the big differences that can make or break a relationship, and one of the big insights in your mega hit book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, is this concept about Mr. Fix-It and the Home Improvement Committee. So what do we all need to know about this?
Well, those are great points. I think when people come up to me, they always talk about, men go, yeah, I learned from your book. When my wife is talking, don't try to fix it. And that's such a key thing, which is, because see, everything in a man is about solving problems and being successful in solving problem. And here's your wife, she's upset about something. If you don't understand she's different, she just often needs to talk about it for a while. and feel heard and understood. You don't have to agree with her. You have to try to understand her. So one simple takeaway is rather than fix, connect. She's needing connection. And what happens is we get into our analytical thought process and she feels more disconnected because we're going over trying to solve the problem. That's not what she's looking for. So, she says, oh, there was so much traffic on the highway today, 405. I can't believe it. It's always backed up. I'm just so tired of living here. He'll immediately respond by, well, have you tried doing the 202? Have you tried doing Wilshire Avenue? And that's his response. Or he might say something really stupid like, honey, you're the one who wanted to live here. We don't have to live here. And he's trying to talk her out of what she's feeling rather than tell me more. Help me understand that better. And those are chosen words I just used. They're golden words. It took me years. What do you say? How do you respond? You got to do something. So in my mind, I have to connect. How do I connect? By asking her to talk more, to try to stand in her shoes for a little while, just to connect. That's what she's looking for, is connection, because it's connection, relatedness, that will allow her body to make more estrogen, that will allow her stress levels to go down, and then she'll be happy. And if she's happy and she says, hey, John, what do you think's a better route to get to work? I'll give her an answer, but I don't give that Mr. Fix-It solution. Now, just as women know, you don't want a man telling you how you should feel or talking you out of how to feel with his solutions. Like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You're overreacting to the situation. Why you always complain about this? These are deadly words, men. It's like putting a gasoline on a fire. It's just going to get worse. Well, just as women don't want to feel somebody's telling them how they should feel, men don't want someone telling him what he should do. Men identify with doing. It's the doing which is testosterone. And if women can just relate to that, your own sensitivity to having somebody tell you how to feel, you're going to stand there and say, I'm going to feel what I want to feel and don't tell me how to feel. Well, that's what's going to happen in a man when you want to tell a man what to do. Yeah. So it's like you have this mothering instinct which wants to help him. If you want to help him, focus on what he needs most, which is someone not telling him what to do, someone who can accept him as he is, appreciate what he can produce, and ask for more in small increments without complaining about it, but asking for a little bit more, but loving what you get. The women have this huge potential to love, but they forget that men are not little children. And she says, well, my husband is. He leaves his socks around. Well, no, he's a grown-up. He's busy thinking about something else, and he leaves his socks down. That's not your job now. He's grown up. You can let the socks build up. You can put them away. You can say, hey, honey, would you pick up your socks? To do it in a tone of voice which treats him as an equal with respect rather than talk down to him like a child. Or tell him how to drive, don't turn here, go over there. Why aren't you doing this? Well, there's the spot. You forgot to make the turn. If he's driving, let him drive. And, you can often say, you can look at the quality of some people's relationships and their communication when you see a woman driving a man around. Ask that man, why aren't you driving? It's because his wife was giving him all this instruction. And so he said, okay, if you want to drive, then you drive. Because you don't want to hear all of that telling me what to do. And that's the gene that women have. Like, men want to fix it. Instead of fixing it, use that gene to connect. And for women, you want to improve him, make him better. How do you make him better? Focus on appreciating what he does well now, because that's how people grow, is by being appreciated for what they do, not for being punished or rejected or criticized or complained about. We see that doesn't change behavior. What changes behavior, because women always want better behavior, nothing wrong with that, but it's small increments with lots of appreciation. So here's a way you can stimulate testosterone in a man. It's a simple takeaway. These are simple phrases, but they work. You can do them every day. And one of them is whenever a guy's talking, you just say something. If it's true for you, good idea. Just watch it. Good idea. And he'll just sort of puff up. That's testosterone rising. Another one is, wow, that makes sense. That's stimulating testosterone. Another one is, oh, that was so helpful. Give a man a chance to be your hero and respond with delight and appreciation. These little things make a huge difference to men, just as little things make a huge difference for women. With my wife, I say, well, tell me more about that. That's a magic phrase, man. Well, tell me more about that. Show interest, show caring. Help me understand that better. Oh, she goes, oh, I'll help you understand that better. Learn about me. Great. Talk about me. They love help me understand that better. Another one is acknowledgement. When a woman is complaining and unhappy about something, rather than talk her out of it, join her in it by saying something like, well, tell me more. Help me understand that better. Another one is what else? That's another key question you can ask. And then when she's talking, after she seems to settle down, then you just say, you do so much for so many people. Let me give you a hug. Hugs are so key. We're learning about the power of hugs, as simple as it is.
Oxytocin.
A hug will raise her estrogen. It will raise her oxytocin. These are stress-reducing hormones for her. But first, she needs to speak it out.
Yeah.
And then you just go in for the hug, and not a quick hug, and not a pat on the back. Count to 6. Just go in there and just feel you give so much to everybody. Even though another part of your brain's going, why do you give so much to everybody? Why don't you give more to yourself? Give more to me? Why don't you just relax? Why are you so upset about this stuff? Just push that little voice over to the side and just look at it from her point of view and see what a wonderful person she is. She's so loving. She wants to give to everybody. You give so much to so many people. You work so hard at that job and get no recognition. Let me give you a hug. As opposed to quit that job. That's not what she's looking for. She doesn't need Mr. Fix-It. She needs some empathy, some understanding.
Perfect.
He's unlocked the key to life.
Wow. So this is blowing my mind. So many important strategies and tips here. And I can speak from personal experience. What you appreciate appreciates when it comes to men. So when I feel that I'm being appreciated, I just want to do more. It's like a magic power that you guys can have in influencing us in our decisions. But as soon as you start critiquing and saying there's things that I'm not doing, I withdraw, and we all of us have different levels of this, and we can be more aware and more sensitive to it because I see myself doing it. But part of being in a relationship is like, I'm going to be this right now. I don't want to hear that. I want you to appreciate all these other things I am doing, because guess what? When you do that, I'm going to show up even more. I'm going to show up better. It's just like encouraging me. And that's really the superpower when it comes to us. And then for the other side of actually listening and being attentive, yes. My wife, she wants to talk. She wants to tell me what's going on. I early on, before I knew about this work, John, I was definitely Mr. Fix-It. I would jump in before the sentence was over. I was like, just do this. The solution, I could see it coming a mile away, but that was not the solution, obviously, as you know.
That's right.
And so now I'm much more just patient and present, and it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful experience. And when it all comes together, what comes out of that is this bond that very much the same way. Like, I love her so much more than when we met. And it's been 12, 13 years now. And just like, I'm infatuated with her. I'm just completely wrapped up in her, and it's because of these things. So please don't glance over this. So I want to shift gears and ask this question. Another big potential issue here for a lot of people is when one person in a relationship decides to make a change to live a healthier life. And someone might say, I'm on a new path to be a better me, to get healthier, but my partner/spouse is not being supportive. What should I do, John?
Well, I think what you just said is what you should tell your partner, which is, I'm on this path now. I remember my wife, she's 67 now, and when she turned 40, and I made some comment or some look or something, and she said, look, I'm going through changes in my body now, and the last thing I need you is any of your judgments, and I just need your support. And she asked, and I remember that moment, and I backed off instantly and wanted to support her and whatever she wanted to do. So I think what you just described is a clear communication, which is, I don't want to tell you what to do. And I always emphasize that's really important when you're asking for something more. I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm wanting to make these changes, and it's hard for me. And I would appreciate any support you can give me. And if you want to know what that might look like, I can tell you more if you want to think about that. And if you notice, I'm walking on eggshells as I say this to you. And I'm saying that to you right now, is that we want to always give our partner a buffer. It's a buffer statement that says, I don't want to control you. I'm not making a demand on you. This is what I would like. This is, if you want to know what it would look like, I can tell you. If you want to just think about it, that's okay. But for me, embarking on making some changes in my life. And I would greatly appreciate your support. And now I'm just coming back to us talking. What you just said earlier about men needing to feel appreciated, and they appreciate, they grow in value. It's so important. And women don't realize this, because often if you are critical of a woman or complain about her, her first reaction will be to adjust her behavior. So she thinks that if I just tell him what's wrong with him, he'll adjust his behavior. Because for a female, if you tell them what's wrong with their behavior, they will do their best to adjust. But then if they don't see you making equal adjustments, then they'll resent you. So I'm not suggesting you give women criticism or tell them what to do, because they will eventually do that and then resent you for wanting them to do that when you're not doing what they want them to do. But the emphasis there is we are different as men and women. And we came back to that hormonal thing. When you criticize a man, when you look disappointed at a man, when you shame a man, when you blame a man, any of those kind of things, his testosterone goes down. You can measure it. It's like if a man's watching his football team and his team loses, his testosterone goes down. It's like we lost that one, and it will go down.
So sorry. So sorry for the Lions fans out there. They're having a good season now, though. But shout out to all the Lions fans.
All right. When he's doing something, the wisdom is by overlooking little mistakes, you win big with a man. By overlooking bigger mistakes, you win even bigger with a man. And that's how you get love to a man, is appreciating what he does. But even a bigger way for a man to feel loved and motivated is to overlook his mistakes. That's when a guy goes, wow, she's being so wonderful. I am so lucky, thank you, God, to bring this wonderful woman in my life where I can feel like I'm safe to be myself. I'm loved the way I am. And every woman can relate to that in terms of what she's wanting. It's just for women, it's like I'm safe to express myself, to make mistakes, to not say it right, to not be a perfect person. And my husband still adores me and loves me. We all deserve that. We just have to learn the power of how to give that.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And that's so mind-blowing. But also, shout out to the Cubs fans as well. Big testosterone boost for everybody this year when testosterone was super low for a long time. But these are some really powerful takeaways here and insights, because the reason I want to highlight this question, John, is I've heard this many times over the years, and being in practice as a clinical nutritionist and seeing this on both sides of the spectrum. You know, a woman wanting to make changes. She's got her kids and her husband, and they just don't seem to be on board and making things more complicated. I think one of the biggest things that you highlighted was the fact of you need to be clear. You need to actually speak it out. Don't just expect everybody to fall in line, number one. But for guys, on the other side, I've seen this as well. Guys like, I'm really working on myself, Shawn, and, she's being kind of combative with these changes. I think this really speaks to something important that you talk about in the book as well, and also through your work, that this isn't like completely black or white. There's a blending. Some characteristics of masculinity are stronger in some men and some women, and it's kind of a blend. And so we don't want to be too black and white with these things. We want to be more aware. But as a general understanding and very strong understanding, this is how stuff works, the majority of the time. So can you speak a little bit about that? Or like, how do we have like some more feminine qualities in a way for some guys, and more masculine qualities in some women? Is that something that you see across the board, or is it consistent? Or can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I appreciate the question so much. Now, I wrote Men Are From Mars 25 years ago, and what I found is whenever couples back then were having problems, these are 20-year marriages, 15-year marriages, 10-year marriages, that a role reversal was starting to take place where a man was beginning to express more of his female side and women were expressing more of their male side and suppressing their female. Now, that was a problem. That was an issue for married couples who've been married for a while. But now it's a problem for almost everybody when they even start out after a while in a marriage. What's happening, which is why I've written a new book, which is called Beyond Mars and Venus, which embraces the idea and explains it in great detail that we each person, you, me, we have a male side and we have a female side. Because see, as a man, I have testosterone, but I also have estrogen. And women have estrogen and they also have testosterone. So biologically, we have similarities, but when we're in harmony, there's a different balance. And whenever women have to suppress their female side in order to express their male side, they get out of balance. And the trick to this is learning how to come back into balance. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong if you go a little out of balance, then you come back into balance. That's life. You're never on a straight path. If you're an airplane flying to New York from LA, the plane is actually never straight on track. It's always going a little off to the right, a little off to the left, and the computer is correcting it. Well, for us, we are always going to be a little out of balance. And for women today, because of the freedom that we have to express all of who we are, women are more independent, they're more self-sufficient, they're more on their male side. They're doing analytical type solving problems. They have to be detached in their work. They're independent. They're making decisions on their own. All of those activities tend to stimulate higher levels of testosterone. And if in that process she's not able to access and express her female side, her female hormones get suppressed, and the female qualities would be interdependence, would be cooperation, which would be collaboration, which would be love. You know, if you're at a job and you don't love it, all day long you're making testosterone and no estrogen. So you start to go out of balance. Or if you're not taking care of people that you love and care about, maybe you're sitting in front of a computer and you're a technician, you might love that. You have a male side. Those qualities are coming up. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not interacting with people in a social cooperative environment, you're not stimulating your female side as well. So the idea is in our lives, Men Are From Mars helped us to understand each other, where we're coming from. What the new book, Beyond Mars and Venus, is where we need to go. Because what I'm seeing as women go too far to their male side, they have difficulty coming back to their female side. That's why things like talking about feelings, being heard, a romance, these things that all stimulate estrogen in a woman are so more important now than ever before. Yeah. For men, what they need is more appreciation than ever before. Now, why is that? Because men are becoming more heartfelt. We're in our feelings more. We want to be more loving. We want our wives to be happier. We easily go over to our female side. But if our estrogen goes too high, then we get our feelings hurt easier. We get angrier easier. We're more sensitive easier. We get lazy easier. If we go to our female side too much, our testosterone goes down. And what we want to do is find that balance. So when a woman is, for example, saying to a guy, good idea, it's boosting his testosterone, bringing him back to his male side. And so now how do we blend those energies? For example, when I'm listening to my wife, I'm in the calm state of masculinity. Masculine energy is spacious, it's cool, it's calm, it's collected. It's like Kung Fu Master. Watch the Chinese Kung Fu guys. They never get ruffled about anything. That's pure masculinity, dodging, looking this way, because you have full confidence at every moment and clarity. That's slow, easy, clear. That's masculinity. And over here you got female, which is, expressing itself. It's happy about this. It's delighted about this. Its feelings are hurt about this. It's a storm. It's a spring day. It's colorful. This is femininity. So as a man, if I start to get too ruffled, I need to come back to calm, cool, collected. And if I can be present with my wife when she's upset about her day and talking about other things, and I'm steady, what's happening is my own female side, I'm connecting with it by being empathetic, but also detached on my masculine side. And those are the two qualities together, and that's kind of enlightenment. That's what we want, is a balance of accessing all of who we are. And that's what my new book, which I define as what a soulmate is. People talk about soulmate. They want something. What is a soulmate? Well, soulmate is actually a partner where you feel safe to express all of who you are, not a part of who you are. The traditional roles of men, the traditional roles of women. No. Freedom to find your own unique balance of masculine and feminine, and you have a partner that can support that. Because when we take on the other roles, we often suppress another part of us. So we want a relationship that creates the freedom to express all of what we are. At the same time, we have to come back to the idea that 80-20, you don't look to your partner for everything. Wow. So if I need to talk about what I'm angry about, for example, I'll go find one of my male friends and I'll talk to them. because they're going to go, yeah, I know. And if women are unhappy with their husband, go talk to a girlfriend. And she's going to go, me too. And you'll get that kind of support. But the key to better communication and learning how to communicate with each other is for women to focus on problems that have nothing to do with their husband and talk about that and just say to him, I just want to talk about this, 10 minutes max. I'll feel so much better. Look at me. Don't say anything. Don't fix anything. You have to kind of instruct him. And he'll go, okay, I can do that. And then if he needs to talk about his day of things that are really bothering him, go talk to another guy. Because when women feel men are like crying and upset about things, they go into this mothering hormone. And when she goes into that mothering hormone, she loses her interest in him as a romantic partner.
Wow. This is so enlightening, and there are a lot of heads nodding in this room, in this studio, John. You are just a dynamo, and thank you for making the obvious that it's so unobvious to us, you know, and bringing it to the forefront to help us to really understand. There's one final question I like to ask my guests, and I'm curious to hear your answer about this. You've done a lot in your career and also in your personal relationship, but what is the model? What is the model that you're here to set, the personal example that you're here to set with how you're living your life?
Well, I do look at my life as a model. You know, sometimes my marriage is tough. And I say to myself, with my education, with the support I have to develop these ideas, if I can't make it work, who can? And in doing that, and I say this to everybody, you know, if you can't make it work after hearing this talk and having all these resources, who can? How can we have a better world? I really feel like it's up to each of us to go beyond what's comfortable sometimes, to let go of the ego, which wants to always be right about stuff, to try something new, to open ourselves up. You know, this is a motivating factor for me. And for people to have children, so many times it was my children. I said they deserve better. You know, when mothers and fathers argue and fight, it tears the children apart because they love mom and they love dad. And to get them to love one more than the other, it hurts that child. It disconnects them from their male or female side. So it's a gift to our children that we learn to apply these ideas, even though they're not always so easy to apply. And that's what keeps me going with all of this, which is, and the other thing is that it's so interesting to me because the challenges that couples are facing today are different. And the science is coming forth, and to be able to share these ideas, and like in my new book, it was the most exciting thing to write because there's so much new information to help us with the new challenges that we're facing in this complex world. But as couples can come together with love, that's the only hope for all of the other divides in the world. I mean, think about it for a moment. You spend a lot of time and energy and resources to find the right person for you, and you can't make that work? How can people who haven't even tried to do that in countries and races, how can we all come together if we can't even come together with somebody that we start out loving? Wow. So this is our most powerful, important commitment, is to find love in our heart with each other. And bring it back to the practical. We're also seeing huge health crisis today. You know, this is all about our compromised immune system, because if we're not able to find love at home, our stress levels will be higher than anywhere else. And if we can find love at home and in our personal life, then our stress levels will be lower. And that allows us to sleep better at night and wake up more refreshed with more creativity and feeling a sense of mission and purpose in our life. And that's where the fulfillment comes from.
Perfect, John. Can you let everybody know where they can best find your books and where they can connect with you online?
Well, I'll mention that right now, the new book, which is Beyond Mars and Venus, my most updated information, new relationship skills for a complex world. That is available now at Amazon on a waiting list. It will come out in January 2017. And I know if you're interested in that, order it now, because you'll forget it, because we all are busy. And if this rings true in your heart as something for you, go for it now. That would be great. It will give recognition to the book and more people will hear about it. So that's the first step. And the second step is I have hundreds of blogs at marsvenus.com. If you forget that, Mars, Venus, just put those planets, I'll come up. Or my name, John Gray, marsvenus.com. And every day there's a free 1-hour program where I'm talking about some subject. And every Monday on our mailing list, I send out the schedule of what shows are available that week. So it's right there, and it's about parenting, personal growth. It's about health. It's about motivation. It's about hormone balancing. It's communication skills. It's romantic skills. It's how to find the one for you. It's dating. Every day a different topic. I spent 40 years doing this. And, it's quite a library that I've got of information, 25 books on this subject. So it's a resource which is free for everybody to come enjoy at marsvenus.com. And I invite you to join me there.
Fantastic.
Oh, what a wonderful invitation.
John, you are a light. You're a guiding light
Yes.
in this field. And I hope that you stay around with us for another 100 years to keep making sense of all this stuff. I truly, truly do appreciate you and your work. I know it's been an arduous process at times, but also very fruitful. And I just admire you for the work you've done. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say one more thing? When you said 100 years more, I do have one of my daughters, Lauren Gray. She's 32 now, 30 years old now, and she is better than me.
Oh.
So when you see her on my website, she's right there. It's not my wife, that's my daughter. And she's got her whole programs for women and, how to find the one for them and how to find, feel good woman, all kinds of stuff she's got as well for people.
That's
Perfect.
awesome.
Keeping the legacy going. Well, everybody,
There we go.
thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I know that you've gotten a lot of value out of this. I know personally I have as well.
Yeah.
And this goes back to that point that I'm going to continue making, is that your relationships are the most influential factor on your health and your success in life, far more than any other factor. So putting some time and resources and intent into that is going to bear a lot of fruit and a lot of benefit for you. It's just that so often today, because we got so much going on, we don't put that time and energy into the thing that matters most. Right. We take it for granted. And it's time to really make a change and focus this year on relationships. So 2017 is the relationship revolution, all right? And John is a big key to that. So make sure to check out his work. Make sure definitely read his Paramount book and also the new book as well. I can't wait to get my copy of that one. We're going to get the hookup, I hope.
Right.
So very excited about that. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. It's my pleasure and my honor and privilege to be able to serve you. And we've got so many more amazing shows coming up. So take care. Have an amazing day. And I'll talk with you soon.